Hello, everyone, and welcome to another fantastic MoteCon 2024 session. I'm your host, Alex Isaacs, EdTech coach in the Long Branch Public Schools District and proud Mote Ambassador leader, and I'm thrilled to welcome our next guest to the stage. While teaching in the classroom, Amy Dubois had an enthusiasm for thoughtfully choosing technology to support language acquisition. Now she enjoys sharing that same passion for language learning with her colleagues in a coaching capacity. Let's welcome Amy to the stage. Amy, it's an absolute pleasure to meet you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Alex, and thank you for the introduction.
Well, I'm very excited for your session today. I know language learning and language acquisition is a topic that's very near and dear to my heart and many of our other Mote maniacs out there. So very excited for your session. I'll be backstage taking some notes and just really listening in on your stellar shares. So bye for now, and very excited to be listening in.
Thank you so much, and welcome everybody to my session about empowering your students for oral speaking in the language classroom. As Alex said, I'm Amy Dubois. I'm a French language educator. I've been in the classroom for 15 years, and now I'm a coach to other teachers in our region. And I work with grades from grade 4 all the way up to grade 12. Mote has become a tool that we have used within all of those grades, and it has a real benefit from elementary to middle school all the way up to secondary. In my role, I focus on literacy and integrating technology to support language. So just some background information about Mote if you're brand new to it. Mote is a Chrome extension, and it integrates easily within the Google Suite, which is what we use here. Super easy to use, and as a language teacher, what I love about it is that it creates a practice space for students. They can go in and practice the language structures. That in turn increases their confidence, which will lead to them participating voluntarily more often in your language class. When you go to use Mote, it looks like this little icon where I'm toggling up in this screen. You simply click on this in Google Slides, and it will open this window. And there's 3 different options in it. I've used it most often just to simply record my voice so that students can hear the language structures. The generate and the upload are 2 newer features. I love the generate because you can type out your information and it works in French. It will generate the audio of what you have typed and it will pronounce it well in French. So it's another opportunity for students to hear a different voice other than your own speaking the language structures. Next, I'm going to share with you some practical ideas of how you can use Mote in your classroom. I've used it a lot when preparing for substitutes. Now, I don't know about you, but here we have a substitute shortage. So it can be tricky to get a substitute, let alone for a specialty subject such as French. And often our substitutes do not have any French-speaking ability. So using Mote to prepare directions in French so that students can hear what you're saying is ideal. And then you can also use it to generate recordings of key points of your routine, key information, songs, etc. So here I'm going to share with you a template that I've used in my language classroom. It goes with the routine of our message du jour, our daily message. And I have recorded a Mote, which is represented in this icon down below, to have myself reading the message. So I had a substitute in that day who didn't speak any French. I explained my routines to the substitute, and then I just said, okay, click the Mote button, and it will read the message for your class. Another way is to generate messages to your students if you need to address an instance. Now, one time I was out for a few days from my French classroom, and on the second day, the substitute wrote and said, Amy, the students left the class just in a disgrace. And I said, okay, let me work on that. So I left a Mote to my students with this image, and I reminded them of our classroom expectations and that I was disappointed in their behavior. After that, if I knew I was going to be out, I just had to show this screen and said, students, do I need to leave a Mote about this? And they'd say, no, miss, we'll leave the classroom respectful. So there's a variety of ways that you can use it to help prepare when you know you're going to be out of the classroom. Another Mote idea is for creating assignments. And here's one unit that my teacher was doing about pastimes in her grade 8 core French class. All of these images relate to answers that were generated by students before they went to this assignment. So the students were already familiar with all of these language structures. I use Flat Icon, which is an awesome website to generate these images, and it represents information and structures that the students were already familiar with. Now, I find that sometimes students can go down the rabbit hole of taking a long time to choose their images. So by the teacher preparing this in advance, it can save a lot of time. And I understand that because I also go down that rabbit hole. So with this template, what students would do is they'd be able to leave answers about their opinions for pastime. So for instance, they might say, I like to go horseback riding. They could even use the negative structure. I don't like to go skiing. They can talk about what their classmates like to do. John and Samantha love to play video games. So you're using a variety of different structures on this template to show their understanding of the vocabulary and to show that they've been listening to their classmates as well. Here's an example from a grade 9 core French class. This teacher was doing a unit on music. And what I liked about this is that the teacher had left some notes with her authentic answers. So she had said that she likes the music of Taylor Swift. And then I forget what she said for the second one. But by leaving the answers, she was giving the students a model to go on so that if there were some students who were like, oh, I can't remember how that structure begins, they could listen to her answer, and then that would help them do their own work. And as I mentioned, Flat Icon is an awesome resource to find images. Another Mote idea is when you want the students to find the images that are authentic for what they want to express, and then use Mote to narrate them and to record their answers that go with it. So this is a project in our grade 6 intensive French class. And this is a special program where students are in French over 5 months. And this teacher had created an assignment called Mon Selfie to document the learning as a portfolio over the 5 months. So I'm going to click into that. I'm going to share that tab. Okay, so in this project with Mon Selfie, the students were learning and reviewing structures that they had learned in previous classes, and as they were building on that knowledge, they would leave notes to go with it. So it covered the learning over the entire course of the intensive French program. So they would write out their sentence, they would find an image to go with it, and then they would record a mote to express their authentic answer. And this is a great way of covering the oral, the reading, and also the writing, which makes up our literacy cycle. Okay, another Mote idea is to make a resource so that students can hear the structures at home. Great if you have students in your specific language class, but also for English as additional language. And I would always put the resource on Google Classroom so that when they're home, they could listen and practice. So in my core French class, I started to realize that the students were pretty good at answering the questions with their answers, but they really struggled with asking the question. I made this resource for them with the images that are associated with the questions, with me asking the question. So in this image, I would ask, comment t'appelles-tu, comment ça va down below, and so on. And then I asked students to go home and to listen to the questions and then to practice asking them to their family members, which was a great way of bringing French in to their home and having a chance to practice it with support. Another Mote idea is using it for reading. Now, when you have a class of 30 students, it can be tricky to have time to read to every student or have your students read to you. So what I started doing when I was in the classroom is that I would have my stronger students use Mote, and then I would work with the students who needed support. Often I would take just a screenshot or a quick picture of the cover of the book. I would put it into Google Slides, and then I would have students who were working independently to, based on their ability, either read the entire book or to read a section of their choice. And it's important to note you have 5 minutes in a single Mote. So for our elementary, that was plenty of time for them to read the entire book. But for the older students, they could leave more than one mote. Another mote idea is when it comes time to projects. Projects is another area where it's hard to listen to the entire class present their projects. So what I started doing was I would use Mote to present half of the class. They would practice on there and they would do their presentations on Mote. And then the other half of the class would present in front of the entire class. And then I would switch so that those who had used Mote to present would then be presenting in front of the class. And that gave different variety of ways to present, gave everybody overall the chance to practice presenting in front of the class and to have that experience. And then they could also use Mote as a practice space before they presented. I also loved using Mote. To create an audio sticker. So what I would do is I would record my Mote, and then when you click on the Mote, you can replace it with different images. And if you upload your Bitmoji into your Mote, you can actually change it from the purple speaker icon into a Bitmoji of your choice. So this one, when I click on it, says, "This is such a great idea." This is such a great idea. It's an easy way of leaving some feedback. That's a kind of fun visual way for your students. And your students will love it when you change up your Bitmoji outfit, you change your hair. They notice all of that, and it just helps with engagement. I like to make one Google slide full of different Bitmoji images with a variety of different recordings to give some specific feedback. And it's the stuff that you say over and over again, but it's all in one spot. It's just a simple matter of bringing it into your student work to leave them some guidelines and some feedback. This is such a great idea. Let's say it again. Another idea is in Google Forms is to use Mote to record exit tickets. And I have to put a plug in for the Mote Learning Zone, which is where I pulled this idea. So in the Mote Learning Zone, I came across this enhanced exit ticket. And when you click on it, it has a green light, a yellow light, and a red light to record their learning experience. So they can simply use a Mote to record what they learned today that they really understood. They had different questions or uncertainties or a new perspective. And then the red light is where their challenges were. And then you can collect that as a piece of assessment and also to guide your next teaching steps. And they would simply click on the long answer and then click on the Mote here to record their messages. So I took that idea and I downloaded it and I converted it into French for the same idea. And all of these templates that I've mentioned, I'll make available for teachers who are interested so that you can take it, tweak it for what works for you, and use it in your own classes. Another idea I obtained from the Learning Zone is an idea that incorporates some movement into your class. So I really liked this idea. It was from Class Discussions with Mote. And I took this slide where basically they created a spectrum. So what I did in my classes is first I would make my class, the physical class, the spectrum, and I would ask a question. So for instance, if I asked, "Do you believe in aliens?" Okay, then I would have my students get up and move. They sit too much during the day. It's great to get them up and moving. And then they would go to the part of the room where you've designated with the different labels. So if they do believe in aliens, they would go to the wall that you've said, yes, that's where the area where we believe in aliens. If you don't believe in aliens, they go to the back of the wall that represents no. If they didn't know, they could go to the middle. And then while they're up and standing and out of their chairs, you could have a discussion with them and talk to them about, why do you believe in aliens? Do you have any proof? Etc., etc. And then have them go back to their computers, to this slide, and have them record motes. And they can physically click and drag the mote, and they can place it on the spectrum. And they can record their answers, but they can also record their classmates' answers too as separate motes expressing what they had heard to show they were listening and how they've synthesized the information. Another movement with Mote idea is to use these comprehension or task cards. So let's take this one here, which is all about culture. Imagine that you have these cards posted around the room where one task card asks them to describe their personal cultural identity. Another task card asks them to describe what kind of cultural meals they eat at home. Another task card asks to describe a celebration or festival they celebrate. So the students would get up, go to one of these task cards, have a conversation with their classmates. Conversation where they're face-to-face, eye contact, they're talking, they're listening. These are such great skills we need to promote. And then they go back to their computers and you've arranged these task cards onto a Google Slides and they record notes that go with their answers and also the answers of their classmates. All of these task cards I will also make available for you to make and take. And Canva has a ton of task cards that you can look for. And Canva also has a new feature where you can go in and you can switch the language of whatever templates you find. So imagine you have these taped around the room and they are moving and they're chatting with the partners before they go to record their motes. Just a plug for a couple of resources that Mote provides is the Learning Zone that I've mentioned a few times, and I have this linked in my presentation. And you can also become a certified educator, which is well worth your time. I did it, and there's a lot of great videos. I learned some extra tips and tricks and hacks that I've been passing on to the teachers I work with, and you get a little certificate after. And to wrap it up, my last hot tip is it's really useful to have one of these. This is a microphone. It's about $20, $25 from Amazon. In our region, we're really lucky that our students have access to their own Chromebook, but we find that within a class, there's always 3 or 4 computers that don't work, doesn't record. This is your answer. It's just a simple plug and play. You plug it in the USB, it will override the internal microphone, and then your students can record. So again, I'm Amy Dubois. My Instagram channel is Fluent in Teaching, and thank you so much for listening to this presentation.
Well, Amy, I've popped myself back onto stage. I've got to tell you, such an amazing job between navigating StreamYard deftly and also just the shares. Speaking as a former math teacher who was in the classroom, you really brought me back with a couple of different things. Everything was such a fantastic way of integrating Mote, but the two that stand out that are sneaky, good ways of using it are number one, those sub plans, leaving those detailed audio messages for your kids and the person who's in for you, and also the replacing of the sound icon with either a Bitmoji or anything else you can think of to really add that level of immersion and interaction for your students. So before we kind of wrap up here, I have one real question for you. So you had mentioned to me, and it's clear that you very thoughtfully think about, what is this tool helping my students, my teachers with? What was it about Mote that really convinced you that this was a tech tool worth integrating into your own practice and now one that you've shared with your colleagues?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, for me, I'm always looking for resources where students can speak and to give them a practice space for speaking. So I love, like, Book Reader has that built in. Mote is so great to integrate. And I love the ease of the use of it, is that it works with everything within the Google Suite, which is what we use within our region. So it's a very versatile tool. And teachers, as I said, all the way from grades 4 up to grade 12s have used it in various ways.
That's awesome. And for me, that was it. It was always ease of use. Is a person going to be convinced this is easy enough to integrate into my own practice? And all of your rationales and shares today, I'm sure that teachers and coaches everywhere are going to be able to take away and really utilize in their own practice. So very appreciative of you sharing with us today and presenting today, doing such a fantastic job. And we also appreciate everybody tuning in from around the world. So I'm excited to continue to participate in MoteCon 2024 and all the festivities involved. And we hope that you'll join us spreading even more of the Mote magic over this 2-day event. Have a great day, everyone, and we'll see you more for the Mote Madness.